Record 8. An irrational route R13. The triangle. It was long ago, during my school days, when I first encountered the square root of -1. I remember it all very clearly. A bright globe-like class hall, about 100 round heads of children, and Plapa, our mathematician. We nicknamed him Plapa. It was a very much used of mathematician, loosely screwed together, as the member of the class who was on duty that day would put the plug into the socket behind. We would hear at first from the loudspeaker, plup, 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 psh. Only then the lesson would follow. One day, Plapa told us about irrational numbers, and I remember I wept and banged the table with my fist and cried, I do not want that square root of -1. Take that square root of -1 away. This irrational root grew into me as something strange, foreign, terrible. It tortured me. It could not be thought out. It could not be defeated because it was beyond reason. Now, that square root of -1 is here again. I read over what I have written and I see clearly that I was insincere with myself, that I lied to myself in order to avoid seeing that square root of -1. My sickness is all nonsense. I could go there. I feel sure that if such a thing had happened a week ago, I should have gone without hesitating. Why, then, am I unable to go now? Why? Today, for instance, at exactly 16:10, I stood before the glittering glass wall. Above was the shining golden sun-like sign, Bureau of Guardians. Inside, a long queue of bluish-grey eunuchs, awaiting their turns, faces shining like the oil lamps in an ancient temple. They had come to accomplish a great thing. They had come to put on the altar of the United State their beloved ones, their friends, their own selves. My whole being craved to join them, yet I could not. My feet were as though melted into the glass plates of the sidewalk. I simply stood there looking foolish. Hey, mathematician, dreaming? I shivered. Black eyes varnished with laughter looked at me. Thick negro lips. It was my old friend, the poet R13, and with him Rosie O. I turned around angrily. I still believe that if they had not appeared, I should have entered the bureau and have torn the square root of -1 out of my flesh. Not dreaming at all, if you will. Standing in adoration, I retorted quite brusquely. Oh, certainly, certainly. You, my friend, should never have become a mathematician. You should have become a poet, a great poet. Yes, come over to our trade, to the poets. Eh, if you will, I can arrange it in a jiffy. Eh? R13 usually talks very fast. His words run in torrents. His thick lips sprinkle. Every P is a fountain. Every poet is a fountain. So far I have served knowledge, and I shall continue to serve knowledge. I frowned. I do not understand jokes, and R13 had the bad habit of joking. Oh, to the deuce with knowledge! Your much heralded knowledge is but a form of cowardice. It is a fact. Yes, you want to encircle the infinite within a wall, and you fear to cast a glance behind the wall. Yes, sir. And if ever you should glance beyond the wall, you would be dazzled and close your eyes. Yes. Walls are the foundation of every human, I began. R13 sprinkled his fountain. Oh, laughed rosily and roundly. I waved my hand. Well, you may laugh. I don't care. I was busy with something else. I had to find a way of eating up, of crushing down that square root of minus one. Suppose I offered we go to my place and do some arithmetical problems. The quiet hour of yesterday afternoon came to my memory. Perhaps today also. O glanced at R, then serenely and roundly at me. The soft, endearing color of our pink cheeks came to her cheeks. But today I have a check to him today. A glance at R. And tonight he's busy, so. The moist, varnished lips whispered good naturedly. Half an hour is plenty for us, is it not? Oh, I'm not a great lover of your problems. Let us simply go over to my place and chat. I was afraid to remain alone with myself, or, to be more correct, with that strange new self who, by some curious coincidence, bore my number, D503. So I went with R. True, he's not precise, not rhythmic. His logic is jocular and turned inside out. Yet we are. 3 years ago, we both chose our dear Rosie O. This tied our friendship more firmly together than our school days did. In ours room, everything seems like mine. The tables, the glass of chairs, the table, the closet, the bed. But as we entered, R moved one chair out of place, then another. The room became confused. Everything lost the established order and seemed to violate every rule of Euclid's geometry. R remained the same as always. In Taylor and in mathematics, he always lagged at the tail of the class. We recalled Plappa and how we boys used to paste the whole surface of his glass legs with paper notes expressing our thanks. We all loved Plappa. We recalled our priest. It goes without saying that we were not taught the law of ancient religion, but the law of the United States. Our priest had a very powerful voice. A real hurricane would come out of the loudspeaker, and we children would yell the prescribed texts after him with all our lung power. We recalled how our scapegrace, R13, used to stuff the priest with chewed paper. Each word was thus accompanied by a paper word shot out. Naturally, R was punished, for what he did was undoubtedly wrong. But now we laughed heartily. By we, I mean our triangle, R, O, and I. I must confess, I, too. And what if he had been living one, a living one, like the ancient ones, eh? We would have the, a fountain running through from the fat, bubbling lips. The sun was shining through the ceiling, the sun above, the sun from the sides, its reflection from below. Oh, on R13's lap, and minute drops of sunlight in O's blue eyes. Somehow my heart warmed up. The square root of minus one became silent and motionless. Well, how is your integral? Will you soon hop off to enlighten the inhabitants of the planets? You'd better hurry up, my boy, or we poets will have produced such a devilish lot that even your integral will be unable to lift the cargo. Every day from 8 to 11, Or wagged his head and scratched the back of it. The back of his head is square. It looks like a little valise. I recalled for some reason an ancient painting in the cab. I felt more lively. You, too, are writing for the integral? Tell me about it. What are you writing about? What did you write today, for instance? Today I did not write. Today I was busy with something else. Busy, sprinkled straight into my face. What else? Or frowned. What? What? Well, if you insist, I'll tell you. I was busy with the death sentence. I was putting the death sentence into verse. An idiot. And to be frank, one of our poets. For 2 years we all lived side by side with him, and nothing seemed wrong. Suddenly he went crazy. I, said he, am a genius, and I am above the law. And all that sort of nonsense. But it is not a thing to talk about. The fat lips hung down. The varnish disappeared from the eyes. He jumped up, turned around, and stared through the wall. I looked at his tightly closed little valise and thought, what is he handling in his little valise now? A moment of awkward, asymmetric silence. I could not see clearly what was the matter, but I was certain there was something. Fortunately, the antediluvian time of those Shakespeares and Dostoevskys, or what were their names, is past. I said in a voice deliberately loud. R turned his face to me. Words sprinkled and bubbled out of him as before. But I noticed there was no more joyful varnish to his eyes. Yes, dear mathematician, fortunately, we are the happy arithmetical mean. As you would put it, the integration from zero to infinity, from imbeciles to Shakespeare. Do I put it right? I do not know why. It seemed to me absolutely uncalled for. I recalled suddenly the other one, her tone. A thin, invisible thread stretched between her and R. What thread? The square root of -1 began to bother me again. I glanced at my badge. 16:20, 5 o'clock. They had only 35 minutes for the use of the pink check. Well, I must go. I kissed O and shook hands with R and went to the elevator. As I crossed the avenue, I turned around. Here and there, in the huge mass of glass penetrated by sunshine, there were grayish blue squares, the opaque squares of lowered curtains, the squares of rhythmic, taylorized happiness. On the 7th floor I found R13's square. The curtains were already lowered. Dear O, dear R. He also has. I do not write. I don't know why I write this also, but I write as it comes to my pen. He also has. He, too, has something which is not entirely clear in him. Yet I, he, and O, we are a triangle. I confess, not an isosceles triangle, but a triangle nevertheless. We, to speak in the language of our ancestors, perhaps to you, my planetary readers, this is the more comprehensible language. We are a family. And one feels so good at times when one is able, for a short while at least, to close oneself within a firm triangle, to close oneself away from anything that